Hello there, hi, it's Julie Rothall here, and I am doing something a little bit different today, and I'm doing a Facebook Live. I'm going to see if I can invite Samantha Packer on live to come and chat to us about encaustic wax. And I can see Sam, and yay, going to pop up on the screen beside me in just a moment. So they're with us. Yay!
Hi! I made it.
Oh my goodness, what a palaver to get this together.
Well,
My
I'm here
goodness.
now.
You are, yes. So sorry, for those that don't know, Sam and I have been trying for about 2 days to get this whole live technical side sorted out, and there seem to be all sorts of little glitches with Facebook. So it seems we can't go live on a page, but we can go live in a group. So we're here. So we're currently live in my free Arty Heaven Waxy Art and Inspiration group, and I'll share this to my page afterwards so that it can go across. So let me introduce you to Sam. So Sam is a lovely lady that I met a few years ago, and she is going to be, well, before we get into what we're going to be doing, Sam, why don't you, I'm trying to think back to when we actually met. It was a good, what, 3-4 years ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah, we actually met. Sorry, through school.
Yeah, no, say, do you want to, go. No.
You had offered an encaustic wax taster session as part of a secret auction at school, which I bid for mercilessly and won. And a few friends of mine, I found out later, were trying to bid as well, but I wasn't having any of it. And I thought I'd come along. I was working at the time for an online textile art magazine, and I was testing products as part of my job. So I was always looking for things to try and things to do. And I'd never really come across encaustic before. So I came along one evening, not really knowing what to expect, and also kind of thinking, you know, is it something I can use as part of my job? So it was always in my mind that I would come along and use it for work. And actually, it was kind of eye-opening, because what you showed us how to do was we were working with the iron and with the stylus pen. So we kind of came in and we literally just some wax. And it was a revelation, really, because I'm not used to being so free. I'm quite a structured person. So to be able to come in and actually just let go was a real eye-opener, and I loved it.
I remember it very well, yes. And from there, you came back in and you booked onto a workshop with me, didn't you? Did you do a 2 or 3 day workshop?
We did a 2-day workshop with the RNF paint. So I have got some of my samples. So I'll just quickly get a few. So I was just literally trying everything, just working on different pieces, learning different techniques, and
oh gosh.
yeah, just having a great time. And you were really good, because whatever we did, we wrote on the back what we'd been doing. We used paints, we used the wax sticks, we used techniques like dribbling and embedding and image transfer. So what it did for me was kind of give me a breadth of knowledge to then be able to go off and explore other options and do what I was interested in. I've come from a sort of textiles and mixed media background, so it's been really interesting for me seeing how I can incorporate wax into those techniques, and how it kind of serves me well.
Yes, So talking of your background, you can just explain a little bit about, because you've got, I mean, I've worked with you and I know, and the products that you drop into conversation are things that I've never even heard of. So you touched on the fact that you used to do product reviews. But do you want to talk a little bit about your background and where, your background with...
Yeah, I mean,
particularly
I started off when I was young. My mum's an embroiderer, and so I always was a very busy child. Always had something doing, and my Cindy's were impeccably dressed because I was used to make out. So I kind of like to sew, like to do arts and crafts. I love art and painting, and kind of everything. As I got older, it kind of all got put to one side, and then when I met my husband, his mother's a award-winning quilter, so she got me back into going on courses, and I did a course on silk paper making also, which I love. I love fibre, I love paper, I love the handmade aspect of it. So eventually kind of got back in and started working for WOW. With the products, because I was testing products, I was getting stuff all the time. I would go to shows and I'd find new things and I'd see people working with things. So I kind of built up a good bank of knowledge of different materials and different substrates, different mediums, everything that you can use in your work. But as I was saying before, it's quite structured because you're always thinking about what you need to do next and how you need to use something. It's good practice, I think, in learning how to use materials. But I think coming into the encaustic has kind of helped loosen things up a bit. Textiles, I kind of did come back into in relation to the work I was doing on the magazine, and we, myself, along with Maggie Gray, who is the editor of the magazine and the publisher, she was writing a book on cutting. So myself and Paula Watkins, another mixed media artist, we came together for D for Daisy books and wrote Cut, Shape, Stitch. And what I really, what I really enjoyed, oh I know. I loved doing, I made a couple of capes, I made a feather cape and a bird cape, and I just really enjoyed using the materials, using pattern and shape, and kind of developing my ideas from there. So I've always loved sewing, and I do a lot more machine embroidery than hand embroidery because I'm quite impatient. And just took it from there really. And the mixed media came a bit after the textiles, and I found I just loved, I love layers. I love going on Photoshop and playing with layers, but with Photoshop it's quite flat. So having sort of something you can work on with your hands is kind of a great way of building up complex images. And coming into how that plays with encaustic, I think with the mixed media, it can be quite flat. Whereas what I love about the encaustic wax is that you build up these layers and you're kind of getting some body to it. And you can show colours, you can show images, or you can kind of obscure them. And that is what is really of interest to me, where I've come to now with the encaustic.
Yeah, so it's been quite interesting sort of following your journey along with it now. So you've been working with the wax, the Damar based encaustic now for what, sort of 3 or so years now?
Yes.
So, and you, yeah. So, and I know, well, so we've worked together, but you've been up for a couple of studio days now. And one thing I do love about you is you say you're very structured. And for me, if I booked a studio day, I would just sort of go and think, oh, I'm going to go and wing it as I go along. You literally had all of your tasks so organised and orderly. You had all of your colours mixed, you were ready, you'd done your research, and the work you produced while you were up there was just, it blew my mind. You brought so many things in and so prepared. I loved it. And that's why I love doing these studio days as well. Yeah. But sort of from there, we then hatched up a little plan, didn't we?
Yes. Using our powers for good.
Yes. So for those of you that don't know, I'm running 3 art retreat weeks. There is one in October. So there are 2 types. There's one for complete beginners who are literally just wanting to learn the Damar based encaustic, so that's wax and Damar resin. And then there's a second week for artists who are already practicing in those techniques. I think it's really easy to become isolated, and you kind of particularly in Europe, there are so few encaustic artists around. So I've created this sort of week to try and bring like-minded people together.
Yeah.
So whilst Sam and I were having a studio working day, we were hatching these plans throughout the day. And I mean, honestly, if you see it, Sam's going to show us some samples in a minute, I believe. I think you've got some samples there, haven't you? Some of the things you've
I'm sitting in a sea of
so yeah, sitting in a sea of stuff. I love it. So from my background, I always say I teach the wax techniques and how to apply and how to layer the wax. And I love that. I've got it's limitless as your imagination. You can just keep going with it. But what I loved about working with Sam is she brings a completely different, the textiles, the fabrics, the material, just the whole range of different materials. I mean, from 10 years of doing product reviews of practically every material you can imagine, Sam's wealth of knowledge is just, I've not met anybody else like it. So Sam, do you want to show us a few of the things that you're going to... So anyway, the upshot is we have hatched a plan that Sam is going to cut. So on the weeks where, for artists that are already working with encaustic wax, with the Damar wax, which is where you layer it up in layers, Sam, I'm going to invite 2 guest tutors in. So one guest tutor is Sarah Wickenden, who's been working with wax for about 20 years. So that's another very different technique. And then on another day, Sam is going to come into the studio and work with some mixed media. And just kind of bring in some of those different aspects, the textiles, honestly, the textures. Sam, back over to you. I'll let you, you can probably describe it way better than I can.
Yeah, I mean, as kind of Julie said, because I've picked up so many different kind of techniques and products over the years, I will be bringing probably a trailer full of them and coming, hopefully helping people explore that once you've got the techniques, what else can you do with it? So I'm going to show you my first piece that I've been working on. So this was using all the techniques that Julie was teaching and kind of adding a few bits in. So I've used stencils, I've used pan pastels. There are some fabric hexagons that I've added in. That was printed fabric I'd picked up at a craft show. And I was using kind of a layer with stencils to kind of mask off an area and make it a feature. And then also some mark making with pens using India ink, because I review books as well. So I was reading a new book by Shelley Rhodes, a mixed media and textile artist, called Sketchbook Explorations, which she did a piece on making cola pens and using them for mark making and writing. So I was quite inspired by that and kind of brought it into my experimentations, really. I just like I said, the layers and just adding bits on and trying not to get too carried away. As I quite often do.
I just say those you blew my those cola pens. It sounds a bit weird. I'm really excited about these. Sam kind of very organised. Came in, brought these cola pens out, and they're literally made with a Coca-Cola can, aren't they?
Yeah.
But the mark making they make is just incredible. So yes, we'll be looking at those as well. Make those.
And
anyway,
also, sorry, what I'm really enjoy working with at the moment is tea bag paper. So these pieces are all torn tea bag paper. I think it was on Amazon or somewhere, and I thought I need tea bag paper. So I went on, found a roll, and thought, right, I'm ordering it. Got it, and found it was the size of a small car. So I will be using tea bag paper for the rest of my life. These techniques I used here was jelly plate printing, so I really love jelly plate printing. I mainly use acrylics for the mixed media work, but we're going to look at a few different ways of using the plate if you don't want to use acrylic in encaustic. But it's a good way of showing people what you can do with it. I've got some kind of examples of the paper. The beauty of it is because it's so fine, you can layer it up and it kind of disappears, just leaving the pattern behind. So, and I'll definitely be bringing my neons because that's what I love at the moment as well. So what I incorporated was tissue paper, the tea bag paper, just layers of wax and some metal flakes that I added in. Use a lot of stencils. I could never have got that round shape with my own shaky free hands. So I'll be bringing lots of stencils as well in order to kind of help us along with making pattern, and I'll be bringing shapes and papers, and we'll see what we can do with them.
Fabulous, fabulous. And then you've got your, and then in the afternoon, I think you have got, these are my absolute favourites. You've got some little, they're like almost feel like parchment paper, with the tags and the scrolls. And,
yes. So I'm also
flower.
Yeah, well, I'm also at the moment, when I find the time, is I'm doing a bit of dressmaking and trying to make my own block. So using my own measurements, because I'm quite short and clothes don't fit very well. But you know, happy accidents. I found that the dressmaking tracing paper is fantastic for encaustic work, because it again goes transparent. It's thin enough to be able to take the media, stamps and paint and ink, but at the same time, when you dip it in the encaustic, then it kind of melts away. So we'll be making some little scrolls and doing, by my tags, go over here. I'm doing some postcards and my little flowers. These were die cut flowers, quite famous Tim Holtz die, coloured with pan pastels and also in caustic medium that's been coloured with pigments. So we'll be looking at making some flowers and kind of shaping them and being a bit more dimensional. So I've had a few ideas about how to fix them together and kind of get some. Here's one. Get threading in there if you want it, and some beads. So yeah, I'm planning on bringing a whole host of things that we'll be able to get together,
Play with and explore with. The actually, I will post some photographs of those in the thread below this, because I'm not sure they come across as well on the video. It's going to be a bit shaky sometimes, but yeah, they really are, and the texture on them, they just look stunning. They are absolutely lovely. So oh, you can't help but be inspired when you're around this lady. Honestly, she just, ideas just keep on coming out. It's just brilliant. So yeah, there's a whole host of things there. So from all these different materials that I've never even heard of, some of them. So yeah. So anyhow, that's what we're planning to do. That's what we've been hatching. So we wanted to just come on live, because I think it's very easy to write this stuff down, but I think unless sometimes you need to be explained verbally and see it as well. And it's just good to kind of hear how it's all kind of come together. So so if you're interested in finding out more, if you go to my website, artyheaven.com, and look for VIP Art Retreat Weeks, I have got a 1 week coming up next month, which is this Monday the 7th to Saturday the 12th of October. And it's basically, it was going to be 5 days of, so this is for artists already working with Daymar based in Encaustic. It's going to be 5 days of studio time. And we're going to go to London on one day and go and look at the Fayum mummy panels, which is going to be incredible. So there's trips to art shops there. I've tried to kind of curate a really exciting week just to really immerse yourself. And it's not all go, 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 go. There's a lot of techniques we're going to cover, but there's a lot of time for you to just sort of process and put your own spin on things. And we're just going to cover all sorts, from image transfers, shellac burn. So we've got 2 guest tutors in. Sam will be in on one day. I'll have Sarah in on another. It's just going to sort of blend together, hopefully, into an absolutely amazing week that you can go and immerse yourself in. So and then if there is a second week in June in 2020 as well. So I know October's not too far away. So yeah, so go to the website artyheaven.com and have a look at that, or just drop me a message. I'm very happy to answer any questions. But I mean, Sam, you've been on a workshop. So sort of from when you came first of all, how did you find that, just taking that time out? And
well, it's interesting because I was recently reading a couple of books by Simon Sinek. He's like a business motivator, and he was explaining how the brain works and why you can't explain why you love something, and it's a part of the brain that it hits you, and it's nothing to, it's got no verbal kind of communication. So, and that was the part of the brain it hit. I just fell in love instantly. And I couldn't explain why. It was just that feeling that you were free and you could do what you want, nothing was wrong, and you could just go with the flow. I think the great thing about the studio time is that you learn the techniques, but I think the driving force behind it all is that it's just a lovely medium to work with, and you know, the liquidity of it, it's just addictive. I loved being in a studio with you know, someone else, because the kind of ideas I had were different to what you do. And seeing post you put on Facebook where you've got your students and the kind of work, you had one yesterday, I think, where someone had done work in black and white. Now, I'm a very colourful person. I like bright, kind of strong colours, but it kind of made me think, well, actually, that looks really good, and I'd like to have a go at that. So I think whatever I think don't come into it with any preconceptions, because I think it will kind of hit you in the heart.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's the benefit of working together. That's really why I'm trying to kind of pull these weeks together. And there's only 4 people who, you know, so it's a really small, intimate group. But I just find every time I'm teaching, I always say I learn as much from the people that are coming into me as they do from me. And that's why I do what I do. I love it. But yeah, everybody has a different idea, and just one thing will just spark you know, your head goes off and you're like, oh, I'm going to try that. And I just think that's the beauty of coming together and doing that. So,
and for other,
but that's really, sorry, go on.
When you post afterwards what work people have done, I think you're right, because there is very little access to the encaustic art world in this country.
Yes.
So to have someone based in the UK, you know, fairly central, is a great opportunity for people to be able to come and spend some time. And I think a week's a good block of time, because you can kind of really immerse yourself in it.
Yeah, definitely. I had 2 ladies in actually last week for a 2-day. I just do a 2-day introduction, just to kind of get the basics of health and safety and techniques. And I think one of them literally said, I think what did she say? I think you've whetted our appetite for more. And I said, you know, they're like, can we come back tomorrow? I'm like, I can't do so. But yeah, they both agreed that, you know, to have, if they could have had a week at it, that would have been ideal time to then really there was an awful lot of technique information, but to then be able to go and explore that for themselves and do more would have been
ideas lead on to more ideas. And I think when you know you're going to have that time where you're kind of in the studio and you can just let yourself go, then it's a really good opportunity. I've really enjoyed doing the studio days, because it's not always easy to put 2 days aside when you're kind of
Exactly, and that's why I've got this sort of different range of options, really. So anyway,
because once you've kind of got the techniques and you've kind of had that time to learn all the things you need to know in order to go further, then that makes it easier for you going off and working on your own.
I think it gives people the confidence to go and then, you know, put into practice what we've worked on. And of course you go away with your reference cards with all your notes on the back, so you can remember what you
exactly. And that I found invaluable.
Oh, good. Oh, that's good to hear.
As I stroke my cards.
So tactile. I know I've got nothing here to get hold of. Anyhow, look, Sam, I know you need to dash and I know you need to get on somewhere, so I'm going to not take any more of your time, but thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And spending some time. No, that's fabulous. We've finally got the tech to work, which is good. Learning all the time. So yeah, just to summarise, if you want to find any more about Sam's work, where can they find? I can put the links in the comments below.
I'm most frequently found on Instagram. I have a website which is www.samanthapacker.com, and I've got a Facebook page, but Instagram's normally where I'm there.
You're there, and is that the same? Handle, Samantha Packer?
I think I'm Samantha Packer Textiles.
Yeah, I think you might be. Yeah, Samantha Packer. Yeah, Samantha Packer Textiles. Go and check her out on Instagram. Some amazing. You'll just see some of the textures and the layers and the the stitch
and my adventures,
and the fabric. Yes, lots of those too. Always going to the latest exhibition and photographs, and it's a world of inspiration just on Sam's Instagram page. So go and check it out. Okay, and if you want to find out more about the Art Retreat Weeks, as I say, go to artyheaven.com and you'll be directed in. VIP Art Retreat Weeks is what you're looking for. Or have a look at the studio working days if you can't manage a whole week. Yeah, see if we can sort something out there. All right.
Thank you, Julie.
Cool. All right, thanks so much for your time, Sam. I'll catch up with you soon.
Bye.
All right, bye. Bye.